trying to mount these receptacles, and I put the receptacles up, taped them onto this frame here so that they were just, the bottoms of them were just touching this gold line, or just slightly above it. And then I marked the holes where the center hole was. I just took a pencil and stuck in the center hole and marked those. And that's where I laid out my two end pieces, one on the back and one on the front. And I took a rule and measured between them, and that was 22 inches. So 11 inches was the center one, and then I just divided that 5.5 inches for the other two in the middle. And I went and figured out the width of these things, and the book says that they're 0.56 inches wide. That's from here to here, this width. And so half of that was 28. So I just took a rule on there and measured up 0.30, 300 thousandths. I took a square and run a line where each one of the center of each one of these receptacles was going to be, and then I took a rule and went up each one of those lines and marked off 300 thousandths, 3/10 of an inch up, and that gave me my center for each one of these. It'll be centered on those. Then one idea was to go ahead and drill those holes out on center. I took a center punch and marked each one of those and drilled them out with a number 40 drill bit. And my idea was to take a screw, a sheet metal screw or something, and screw these down to that spot and then use them for a template for drilling out these holes for the rivets. But that turned out to be not as practical as I'd hoped. With these ears sticking up on these receptacles, you can't really get a screw in there to hold down tight. Now I could have sacrificed one of these and ground these ears off or flattened them off or something, but I didn't do that. I knew by looking at the book, at the catalog for these, that it's 1 inch center to center between these rivet holes. So I went ahead and measured 5/10 of an inch off of these holes that I drilled and made a mark, punched it, and drilled a number 40 hole here. And that way I can take a 3/32 cleco and hold that receptacle up to the frame there, and then I can use the other guide hole there, rivet hole there, as a guide to drill out for that rivet. Now these rivets will be drilled out with a number 30 drill for a number 4 rivet instead of a number 3 rivet like I've been using. But right now I'm just piloting these holes out with a number 40 drill, and I can always enlarge them into a number 30. The center hole is not as critical where it's located, although it's winding up like this one winds up being almost perfect. But the center holes aren't quite as critical as getting the hole distance lined up right for the rivet holes, because the center hole is drilled out quite a bit larger to facilitate the stud going in, and it allows all this stuff to float, so you've got a lot of slop in there, a lot of leeway in there as to where that center hole is. But so far everything is laying out pretty good. I'll get these laid out and get these holes drilled for the receptacles for the rivet holes. Then I can drill out these center holes, and then I got to figure out some way to, well, I have to countersink these holes. Then I've got to figure out some way to feed these receptacles in there so that I can get the rivet set in them. Well, I went ahead and drilled these holes out on the off side of these receptacles with an 1/8 inch drill bit, and then put a number 4 clecos in there. I'll come back now and go ahead and drill these other sides that were drilled with the 30 drill bit, or with the 40 drill bit. I'll go ahead and drill those out with the 1/8 inch, and then take them off and clean them up with a number 30 bit. So I drilled all those holes out with a number 30 drill bit. I was going to leave the center hole at a number 40, so the guide for the rotor broach fits in there a little tighter and makes it a little cleaner hole. But I need to find the holes for these studs to go through, and my smallest hole finder is for a number 4 rivet. So I got to make sure I get that in the right hole, and then I can drill that panel out, put the rotor broach on, and open up these center holes for the studs to go in the receptacles, and we'll deburr all the holes and countersink the ones for the rivets, and then try to figure out how to get those things in there. I did some testing on some scrap metal. The book, what I could decipher out of the PDF file for the Southco fasteners is that this hole is supposed to be a 1/2 inch if it's countersunk and a little over a 1/2 inch if it's not. But doing some experimenting on some sheet metal, I found that this 7/16 worked just fine for that. Okay, those holes are in. I countersink these rivet holes, and I had to deburr these number 30 holes. Deburr these bigger holes. Okay, a piece of welding rod with a rag on it. Get the chips out of the inside there. So I'm going to spray a little bit of exo rust down through that channel on the inside of it. Hopefully it'll get through there enough to cover up that. I'm going to take exo rust, make sure and get all of these raw edges coated. Alright, trying to figure out a way to feed these receptacles in down through this channel to get them in to where I can get them riveted on here. And I started with the middle one here. Maybe I should have went all the way down to this one here, but I don't know. These ones on the end I can just about stick in with my finger and hold them in. But these ones farther in are kind of tough to feed in there and to get them to hold up to where you can get a cleco on them or get them started where you can rivet them on. My first idea, and when I fed these in there to make sure that they would fit, I took a piece of 16th soft aluminum welding rod and just bent up into this channel here and bent it in there, and then I was able to slide that in. I was thinking that if I slid this in here with the welding rod, once I hooked onto it with a cleco, I'd be able to pull the welding rod back out. It's soft enough, I figured it would just bend coming out of there. But it didn't. It pinched in that gap there and I couldn't get it out. Then I tried with a thicker piece of welding rod and bent a little hook on it, thinking maybe I could just hook it in there and then drop it down. And anyway, short story, that didn't work either. So the next thing that I tried, I took a piece of string here and just put a slip knot on it and fed it in. So now once I got that string, get it off that welding rod, and get the welding rod back out there, and pull the string up. Now I fed one of these receptacles on that string, and I put a knot in the middle of the string with a washer to back that knot up. And now I can feed that receptacle in there like that. Bring it right up, and that washer puts enough pressure on the back of it there that I can pull it tight against this. There we go. Now I get a cleco on there. There we go. Anyway, that works for feeding that in there, and I can just pull everything back out. Now I won't need that for this one. I can just stick it in there with my finger. I got all the receptacles riveted in. They're all set there pretty good. I got the holes for the studs cut. I just got this stud on here. I don't have the retainer for it on because I've got to take it off to paint all those. Okay, I think that's it. That's going to work out pretty good, I think. That door is on there. Okay, I'm happy with that. I've got enough edge space between the edge of the hole and the edge of the panel there, the door panel. There's my door. The doors are finished. Now the rear door, I still have to rivet in the latches. Anyway, my cargo doors, my baggage compartment doors are done, and I'm pretty happy with the way they turned out.